In this video, I'm going to show you how to animate menu elements using a component with Unity called iTween. You'll be able to do stuff like this, and then when you hover over buttons, it'll scale, and when you click them, it'll do a thing called a punch scale. So let's get to it. So before we start the tutorial, you're going to need to download the iTween package from the Unity 3D Asset Store. Then go ahead and install it in your project, and then we can go over functionality. Now that you got iTween installed, let's go ahead and create a menu full of buttons, and then before we style it, we're going to go over functionality. So I made this image gradient that you could get as a free resource if you go to my website, and you just plug that into this image component right here. And what I'm going to do is make an empty object, and we're going to call it menu. And then we're going to go ahead and make some buttons within it. So for now, I'm going to do one button, and because I want to show you the functionality, let's go into the code and see what it looks like. So I highly recommend going over the documentation for iTween, as there's a lot of information involved with it. If you want some videos regarding iTween, definitely let me know in the comments below. But for now, we're just going to go over a couple static functions that are pretty useful for animation. So right here, you'll see that on my click event for the button, we're going to add this static function called punch scale. And what this does is when you click the button, it's going to make the game object sort of move a little bit, and it's going to scale rapidly based on this right here, which is scale time, and then based on this vector that we're going to, transform it to. You'll see that I have to reference these handlers, these button interfaces. So we need an I pointer enter handler and an I pointer exit handler. With these handlers, we'll be able to access the buttons on pointer enter when I hover over, and then when I hover off, we want to reference this on pointer exit right here. So you'll also see that there's a static ScaleTo function that iTween uses. And it also uses this thing called an iTween hash, which allows you to throw and change variables within iTween. So simply what this is doing is we're going to scale to a certain vector, certain vector based on a certain time. The loop type is whether or not you want it to loop. Ping pong goes from start to finish, and then from finish to start. And you can also put in a none if you want. And ease type is the sort of the animation transition. So what linear does is when it goes from scaling, say, from 0 to 1, it's going to be a smooth animation. So ScaleTo is the vector in which we want the button to, scale to. Scale time will be the, how long it takes to animate. Punch scale is also what we want it to scale to, but it's going to be very rapid. And then this allows us to get back to our original scale when we're done hovering over it. So with the menu button script created, what you want to do is go to your button, go to add component, and then you can look up the menu button script. Go ahead and add it. We're going to leave these default values here. I made it public in case you want to mess around with them. Let's hit play, and you'll see it scale as you hover over. So notice it's growing and it's going back and forth. Now that's because the loop type is set to ping pong. And when you hover off, it goes back to its normal position. So now let's look into moving the menu buttons from left to right. So I want these buttons to animate so that they start off here and then they go like this. And when I click, it goes back. So we're going to use iTween to do that animation, and I'm going to show you that script. So just to give you some brief functionality on the ScaleTo with iTween, these are some of the parameters that you can pass into that hash. So you can do a scale based on vector 3. You can pass in individual vectors like an X, Y, and Z. You got time, speed, delay, which we're going to use to do the movement of the buttons. And then you'll see this on complete, which is a delegate for when the animation completes. You can put some functionality there, when the animation starts, and while the animation is happening. So I know this is a lot, but just wanted to show you really some of the things that you can change with the hash when you use a ScaleTo. And this applies to a lot of the functions. So we want a menu that will move the buttons when I click it, and when I click it again, they'll move away, the buttons. So in order to achieve that effect, we're going to want to keep an array of menu buttons that will be a part of the parent level, which is the menu. And we're going to loop through them like this. And we're going to call an iTween function called moveTo, which will basically move from one position to another. And one thing you'll notice is this ease type right here. It's not linear, but it's called ease out back. So there are many ease types to use in iTween. And what this one will do is, instead of, if you could think of it this way, in the linear animation, it's going to go from point A to point B, and that's it. Ease out back it'll go from point A, but when it reaches the end of the animation, it'll move a little bit beyond that end destination to give it more of like a bouncy feel. So that's what that ease type will do. So when we show it, the buttons will go like this. And then right here, when we go to hide the buttons, they'll move forward a little bit and then back out of the screen. And then the toggle function basically, it toggles a boolean. So if it's showing, it'll hide it, and if it's hidden, it'll show it. So one thing to note is I want the button to move to a specific position. So we're going to make a variable that we can, change. Show vector x. So it'll end up at this position when the animation's done, right here. And we want to go back to the original position when we hide it. So I'm going to actually take this out. We're going to do a hide vector x, another variable up here that we can modify. Okay, so with the menu script created, what we're going to do is the parent object, I called it menu, we're going to add the menu component to that, like this. So we're going to give the menu script there. We have our button as part of that menu. So this will be our end position. It'll be this right here, 566. So we're going to put that at the hide vector x. And then I want it to move to about here. So I'm going to take this value and we're going to put it in our show vector x. And then, one thing you need is the ability to be able to toggle this. So I'm going to make another button here. And it would probably help if we styled this, but I really just wanted to show you the functionality. So I'm going to make a button that's going to toggle. And let me just, to help with visually, I'm just going to make this 50 by 50. We're just going to put a dash on this. So this will be our toggle. I'm going to rename this. And so what this is going to do is it's going to call, so we're going to drag the menu item to that onClick function, and then you look for menu and toggle. So we're going to move the button to where it needs to be. So I click it, it shows. I click it again, it shows off. And that's how you do a cool animation with iTween. And one thing to do is, if say you duplicated these buttons, you want a bunch of them. So I'm gonna make a bunch. Let's do 3 buttons here. Now if I hit play again, all 3 of those buttons will go. And one thing I failed to mention is that when I'm showing it, I'm looping through the buttons, but I'm adding a delay to it so that each button instead of them all moving at the same time, they're going to go one after another. So it's going to be this nice one goes over, another one, and then another one. And I think it looks pretty cool. So adding that delay helps. So anyway, if I hit the show, see how they all appear like that, and then I do it again, and they all exit. And what you could do is, if you say, you know, you could add another menu, you could do another toggle, and you could sort of toggle between them. And then you could do some styling on the buttons as well. But that's it. That's how you do the functionalities. If you're looking for other tutorials, definitely check out the Unity 3D tutorial playlist on my YouTube channel. If you want to follow the development of my indie game, head on over to johnbednes.com and look up The Lost Orcs. I also have 2 playlists regarding the indie game. One is a gameplay playlist on the YouTube channel, and then another one is the devlog series itself. So thanks for watching this video. I hope you learned some stuff involving iTween and how to animate some stuff in Unity. If you have any questions or comments involving iTween, or you know, how to animate stuff like this, definitely post in the comments below. Or if you like these kind of videos, please give us a thumbs up. And thanks again for watching, and have a good one.